What's harder, getting to number one or staying at number one?
Staying by an absolute mile. Retaining is 10 times harder than chasing, because the pressure, the expectancy, every single year the pressure ramps up 10 times the year before. Like it's very hard now, and I think like in the build up, that's when it affects you. I think because if it isn't going 100% to plan in the build up, you're getting closer to the comp and you're feeling like you're not where you want to be. I think everything else in those factors, the pressure, the expectancy, kind of adds to your stress levels, and it makes it a lot harder. 100%. Yeah, it makes chasing seem quite easy.
Which
when
is
you
funny,
look back
isn't it? Because chasing, you know, I read this great thing about what's his name? What's the greatest swimmer of all time called?
Greatest runner.
Great swimmer.
Phelps.
Michael Phelps, yeah.
So I read this thing about Michael Phelps and about his routine over Christmas, and about the fact that his routine doesn't change for 2.5 hours before, and he's done exactly the same thing for 20 odd years.
Yeah.
And so, as far as he's concerned, he wins at every minute of those 2.5 hours, and the last minute happens to be the race, and he will win that too.
Yeah.
And because he does the same thing every single time, he doesn't have to waste a single percent of his focus on a decision, making a decision what to do next, because he does exactly the same thing.
Yep.
And that makes so much sense if you think about it.
No, I'm very similar, and a lot of athletes aren't. But I think, a lot of people say like I've got OCD with that kind of stuff because I'm so routined in everything, and I truly 100% believe in it, because then if anything, it kind of chills your mind and makes you feel like I'm ready. I've checked everything off. I'm ready to go. I'm ready to compete.
You know, the more you read about that kind of thing, the more it makes sense. So, because Steve Jobs did the same I think he did the same basically from every point of view. But Steve Jobs wore the same clothes every day. So he wore a pair of Levi jeans, a pair of white trainers, a white T-shirt, and a black crew neck sweater. So every morning when he woke up, he didn't have to waste a second thinking what to wear.
Wow.
And if you take that philosophy through your day, and then you can be spontaneous, but the spontaneous comes from such a base of solidity, it makes life so much more enjoyable.
Yeah, that's an extreme version. I haven't heard that before, but that's quite
It makes
cool
sense,
to know.
doesn't it? Because if
100%.
you take Michael Phelps' theory of his 2.5 hours, we'll say, well, why stop at 2.5? You know, why not go all the way? And then, of course, you can always depart from that path. Right, let's hear some of these amazing titles of recipes from Max's book. Over to you, Vas.
I like the London 2012 healthy fish and chips.
Yeah.
I like the Rio 2016 Brazilian stew, but I particularly like, because there's a lot of alliteration going on here, the Tokyo 2020
Well, there was a lot of alliteration going on.
The Tokyo 2020 turkey teriyaki. Try again. Tokyo 2020 turkey teriyaki stir fry.
Yes.
Very good.
Yeah, I wanted to make it quite personal to me. So obviously they're the two Olympics I've been to, the one I'm obviously hoping to go to this year. And they're dishes that I all love, and they're dishes that are amazing, and they're healthier versions. And obviously, I wanted to include stuff like fish and chips. There's a healthier burger in there. All stuff like that is so important, because I've spoke about in the book the 80-20 rule, and I truly believe in it, not being far too intense. It's about 80% of the time, try and be good. 20% of the time, treat yourself. And I've done that through my whole career, and that's why I wanted to get that across in the book.
It's funny, and also the Japanese have this theory about eating, which is the 80% full rule. So the Japanese culture says only ever eat until you're 80% full, never be 100% full. And they say there's a prayer they say before they eat, and it means not full. It means I will eat until I'm not full, and then I'll start. Makes so much sense.
Yeah.
Every time you come across a cool athlete, there's always a flapjack or two behind them. Tell us about yours.
Yeah, so that's my flapjacks. They're really good, actually. Obviously, there's fruit in
They're
there.
gorgeous.
There's nuts, there's seeds in there. They're obviously healthy, they're traditional flapjacks. And they're like a treat. So that's in my treat sections of the book. So there's obviously breakfast, lunch, dinners, treats, and snacks.
So these are a bit naughty?
Yeah, a little bit, but there's even more treats in there. So I've got like ice lollies in there. I've got loads of stuff. Because I wanted to do that, because that's the way I eat. I don't eat these foods that you cannot pronounce. You need to literally research how to prepare them or cook them. They're just normal foods that just the way that the ingredients you use, the way you cook them, they're a bit healthier.
I've never eaten so much during a show in 15 years of doing this. Ever.
And who'd have thought it with Max Whitlock as one of the guests?
I know. What's this? This gorgeous creation?
Yeah, that's the vegetable and bacon frittata. Yeah.
Okay. Got a knife
Tucking.
and some more plates. We need some more. We had 20 to start with. Questions about sauce.
Well, so I remember the first time I ever covered gymnastics in the flesh. It was the World Championships in Debrecen. I was there for Eurosport. Beth Tweddle did really well for Great Britain, just before the real explosion.
Yep.
And I remember thinking, my goodness me, gymnasts have it's kind of the peak of human performance. What the human body can do, these people do it better than anybody else in the world.
Nice.
And then I thought, recently, watching the Free Solo film actually, gosh, climbers, they're kind of absolutely perfect.
Yep.
So you, up against Tommy, the guy from Free Solo, the climbing guy, on Ninja Warrior. Who wins?
Oh, God. Oh.
Well, let's put it to the test. It's a Netflix show waiting to happen.
I have said I wanted to give that a try because it would be good.
You would kill it.
It would be quite
You'd be
interesting.
amazing on Ninja Warrior.
Who would you pick? No, but you'd pick 7 people. You don't call it Ninja Warrior because then you have to license it from them. So we get you. We get it's Alex from Free Solo, isn't it?
Alex from Free Solo and Tommy's from the other one.
Dawn Wall.
Okay.
Dawn Wall.
Okay. So, sorry, we're eating all the way. This is terrible. Stop making such nice blackjacks, Whitlock, for heaven's sake. But that'd be cool though. A Netflix one-off. It'd be like the Kipchoge sub 2,
yeah.
wouldn't it?
That would be cool. That would be like the ultimate athlete,
It'd be
wouldn't it?
amazing.
That would be good. And that's why I love gymnastics so much, because what it can teach is so much for the body, and it's such a transferable sport. Like there's other athletes that come into gymnastics to try to improve their sport, like in terms of rugby, fighting, all this stuff, because the movement increases massively. So I think there's a lot of people gaining from the sport, but it's still got a lot of room to grow.
The Chris Evans Breakfast Show with Sky.